Hi, my name is Jeremy, and on this channel I talk about color and light. And today I want to do something a little bit different. You'll notice my background is different than it normally is, and it's because I would like to do plein air painting, which means getting out into nature and painting what my eyes see. There's two different thoughts that are often promoted when painting. Should you paint from a photo, or should you paint from life? And my answer to that when people ask me is yes, you should absolutely do both. And there's different reasons for both. There's something about the human eye. The dynamic range of a human eye is so much higher than what any camera can do currently. Even the expensive film cameras can't do what the human eye does. So being able to go out yourself and paint from what you see is really an amazing thing, because you will learn to see the world yourself, your interpretation of the world. You can also bend the physics of the world if you want to make a better composition, and that's what I want to do some paintings of, plein air, out in the field. With digital painting, I'll be using my iPad. The problem with the iPad, as you can see here, is that there are reflections. And so when you are painting, it's not like a canvas that you want lots of light. When you're painting with an iPad, at least, you want some place tucked in the shade, because painting out in the sun is nearly impossible. Little tip for painting on the iPad: if you want your painting to look good, you really shouldn't bring your brightness above 50%, because if you have it at 100% to be able to see outdoors, you get back to your desk and your painting will look very dark because you've overcompensated for the light. So finding a spot where you can kind of tuck yourself in is really important. And what I want to do when looking for plein air paintings is to look for dynamic light. I want to see the individual pieces of light kind of split on their own. I want to see a difference in the way the sunlight hits something, and I want to see light and shadow. I want to see bounce light. I want to see some subsurface scattering. I want to see all the elements of what makes something beautiful represented in pieces in my composition that I choose. Okay, so what I'm searching for is dynamic light. This is not bad from this angle. I'm going to keep searching. Okay, so this is kind of cool. What I like about this, if I zoom in, is the swoop of the path, and it kind of curves and up and around. So that's kind of cool. The nice dappled light looks pretty nice. That has potential, but is this the painting that I want? I'm still going to search for some more. There's some interesting light that's happening in the water, some subsurface scattering. I can see the shadows, clearly a lit side and an unlit side. Could angle myself something like that. Would this make a good painting? I'm not really sure, but I'm just kind of searching. What I don't want is something that is super flat, where I have very flat lighting. So today is a beautiful day for painting, and I'm looking for something that is interesting, dynamic. I can see perspective going off into the distance. So if I were to shoot this flat, come over this way, this would not be very interesting to just shoot flat against a wall, because it's not very dynamic. This is kind of interesting. Get my exposure here. I like the way the water's flowing and the reflections here. It's not a very dynamic composition though, because it's just kind of flat, noisy back there, but that's cool. I like the water, I like the light and the shade, but is this it? I don't think so. Let me keep searching. So this is an interesting spot to record. I like the shapes of these trees. I like the curve of the river over here. This is pretty cool. I also like this backlit. Backlit is very dynamic with the light. So if I come around here, ooh, yeah, this is cool. Oh, I like the shape of that tree. What's really nice here is that I've got sunlight dappling through here and little speckles of highlights in this really cool shape. Maybe this is my spot. There's nice reflections in the water. There's nice subsurface scattering in the sun. It's a nice dapple, and it has this nice sound from this little bit over here. That's going to be very peaceful for a painting. So maybe I can find my composition somewhere around here, set myself up, and paint this. All right. I have found my spot. This is where I'm going to set up. I'm going to switch over to my iPad now and show you my progress from the iPad as I paint. Here I am in Procreate. So first I'm going to make a new line here and do a pencil, just kind of brush stroke out what I'm seeing. what I want to do for my composition. So I see this log kind of coming out here and up the frame. And this other branch coming out of it. In the background there's some other cool trees. A little pool over there. I have to just kind of see how this works itself out. There's room for interpretation of what I'm seeing and what I'm painting versus what reality is. Now on this layer I'm going to switch back to my favorite brush, the turpentine brush, and start filling in what I see. I'm going to start with a base color of some neutral tone. Blur my eyes. I see some yellow sunlight, mainly back here. Some greens through here. Stay really, really, really loose with this, just to start, get that base in. I also see some darks in the water, darks along this branch. And this kind of the water itself has this certain glowy color to it. And the shadow of that. I'm seeing a bit of sky back here too. Some nice bright kind of blue type color. It's actually a little more desaturated and bright back there. Trying to blop in everything that the overall composition that I'm seeing before I get too far into this painting. I think that maybe this should swoop down more here. Stay very, very loose and painterly with this to start. A lot of green that comes down in front of me. Little bits back here. Seeing some reflections off on this side. Now there's so much complexity in this. Edge of the water. Taking certain artistic liberties here, depending on what I'm seeing, to just make this a stronger composition if I can. But trying to take cues from what I actually see with my eyes as well. Dappled light in the background. Also mud at the edge that is desaturated. Has some light colors in it. Painting all in one layer, kind of like what I would do traditionally. And there's some really complex colors in here, how they blend. I'll lean this a little bit into the greens because there's some reflected light that's happening in here too. It's giving this kind of green cast to the edge of this. I'm noticing there's some really bright right under this edge. Little bits of reflection all along the edge of this water. My process of painting takes time to see all the different components and do them kind of one at a time, really. Start really big and then work my way to smaller. See some rocks back there. They're more neutral in tone. Some little things back there, and they've got little dapples of brighter sunshine on them, like catching the light. And there's some little green reflections on all these logs of the light that's kind of bouncing back up onto them. Also some very desaturated, cooler, minty-like stuff just on the surface. Reflections of the sky on these plants, just little daps of it. Also some bright yellow flowers. I'm going to do these on their own layer. Dap in little bits of color that I see here and there. Back to this layer. There's some leaves. Bright, juicy leaves. Right about here. Smaller and smaller details, things that I see, the log itself, where the light dapples. Where it doesn't. There's the theme in almost all of my paintings that you might see, where I start with big details and work my way to small. I think I've said that way over and over. I like seeing the bounce light from the ground back up onto the log. Reflections in the water. Such subtlety of colors in the subsurface under the water. It's really pretty. And the light's changing, it's shifting. So you've got to adapt as the light shifts. What am I actually seeing? Mm-hmm. Can't tell my blacks and my darks and how dark it should be. Stay very interpretive of all of this. There's all this subsurface stuff that's really hard to kind of capture underneath the water, right down in this kind of glowy section, and trying to interpret that as a challenge. Definitely finding the being out in daylight challenging. I'm getting a bit of reflections that are proving to be a little bit challenging out here. I have a few minutes left. I gotta go get my ride back home. Just stick under the water, back over that way. Stick that goes kind of down under here. Well, I'm not very happy with this, but oh well. This is just life. Okay, let's stop right there. I'm done for now. There's my background. Here's my painting. You'll be able to see this more full screen. I'm gonna have to go back to my desk and see if I need to clean this up, but this is what I did so far, just being out in the air. Some sunlight is dappling onto my face. It's making it a little bit difficult to see all the details, but I enjoyed this. It was nice to sit out by the river, and I think you should give it a try too. If you have an iPad or a laptop that you can bring out, give it a try. I mean, of course, for those of you who do traditional paint, get out and paint with real paints. You have an advantage here over us digital people in that you can get out into the world without having to worry about screens, and you want as much light as possible. Okay, so I'm back at my desk now and just wanting to do a little bit of cleanup. When I was out in the sunlight, it was a little hard to see the finer details with all the reflections on my screen. I definitely have to try this again, and I might try a trick next time where I take an umbrella to put behind me just to see if I can reduce reflections and make this a cleaner process. So I'm doing this cleanup now here at my desk. I didn't have enough time out there. I needed to get my ride home, so next time I'm gonna give myself a good amount of time so I can do the whole thing out in plain air. But for now, you can kind of see some of the work that I did to just add more contrast where it needs to be. And I'm doing this from memory. And I'm also trying to make this a little better than reality. So, you know, playing with my composition and where the contrast is and where the edges are. Where do I want high contrast? Where do I want it soft? Where do I want to blend some lines to make this, you know, as pretty as it can be? When I get to the very end, you'll also see I do a process where I add some glow. And I do that by making a new layer and putting it in add mode and then just softly brushing in, you know, around the highlights, some bloom, you know, and glow that just makes it feel more like what it did to my eye with the, you know, the brightness of the sun and a little bit of atmosphere. That's where I bend reality a little bit. You'll see it in a second. One little dots of the little flowers that were out. It's really beautiful springtime here today. It was a gorgeous day. Thank you again for watching. This was a lot of fun. Here's my bloom levels. And that brings it to a close. Thanks for painting with me. See you again soon.